I'm good.
Right? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Groveland Planning Board of Appeals for Wednesday, August 7th. Your motion to open?
Motion to open.
Is there a second, Mr. Stokes?
Yes, I'll second
Right. Roll call vote to open. Chris Goodwin, aye.
Jason, aye.
it. Aye.
And just for housekeeping, we will be doing roll call votes tonight because of Mr. Stokes being remote. First on the agenda tonight, continued Sewell Street review. Insubstantial changes to the plan previously approved. These changes include relocation of access to the development, associated changes to drainage, and the correction of an error in the decision to change that number of bedrooms from 298 to 312. And review of TC stormwater review. So Rebecca, we got TC's peer review that.
Yes, there's a couple of outstanding items, but all things that can be addressed with the action.
Nice. Has the applicant's team had a chance to review the?
They have, and they will be making the corrections, and by way for record, it's more like HydroCAD, inverts to match the plane, so it's more of those technical details, so it's not matching like different areas of the plane, so nothing excessive.
Could we raise the volume for old ears? I can't hear.
We actually don't have mics tonight.
I know, so raise the volume.
Do what we can.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yep. All right, so we have that, so hopefully by our next meeting, we'll have the feedback from the applicant's team on the comments. Mr. Nays, any commentary?
No,
Nothing either. John, any commentary on the TC review?
No, I'm okay.
Do we need to continue that further? That's what,
I would say,
it's already been approved, it's just a review of the feedback.
the insubstantial changes were originally reviewed by the board track, sorry, this is before I put up the role, so I'm just trying to make sure. So it would be, technically, if you haven't resolved all commentary and a vote hasn't been taken, you should probably most likely continue until the next meeting yet again. And so that you can continue to a set date and time
Right.
for review of the application, so that those who are not noticed, since it's not the original, but it's an insubstantial change, so there is some gray area there, but at the same time, for matters of transparency, I would advise the board to set a date and time to continue to. And that does cause conflict with the September scheduling, because you typically meet the first Wednesday.
But-
And that is, the week of Labor Day, and there's, also the primary on September 3rd. But obviously you could meet on the 4th, if that's what the board chose to do, the first and third Wednesday, correct?
Right. So the people, Wednesday after that would be the 18th.
that was one of the dates that you picked for the board of selectmen, and so
That's correct.
fourth.
So there may be a conflict with another board.
Well, I'm sure the board will let, the board like to print access for next week, have a bit. So we can move to the third Wednesday, that'd be the 18th of September.
Correct.
Does that work for you, John?
Yeah, yes. What date?
September 18th, Wednesday, third Wednesday of the month.
Hold on. Grace, when are we going to Canada? Grace?
I'll put it in my calendar. My clock, computer, my laptop today.
I'm sorry, the 18th?
Yes.
Okay. That's fine.
So I'll make a motion to continue the Sewell Street project till September 18th, 7:30.
Second that. So all those in favor, Chris Goodman, aye.
Jason,
Aye.
aye.
Table to September 18th. Next on the agenda, 36 Garrison Street. So for the Garrison Street project, we do not have any new information or data, and nothing has been approved or submitted to the town in any way. But what the board wants to do is continue to have a section for during all our meetings for public comment, just to make sure that the community has a place to voice, have their voices heard. So if anyone from the public would like to speak on the project at all, they're certainly welcome to speak. But again, at this point, we have nothing new to discuss, declare, or vote on, or in any way review, other than what's already been said. But if anyone from the public would like to comment on the potential project, the floor is yours. So, I'll just ask you to state your name and address. for-
Craig Weaver, 25 Cannon Hill Ave. I believe that you're probably aware that the select board was polled about the project, and it seemed to be fairly unanimous that they weren't in any support of it for a number of different reasons. And I would just like to express that I hope that the zoning board of appeals would listen to what they were saying and take it to heart. There's the reasons why it was objected to.
And yes, you know, we're very well aware of those comments. I would remind everyone that neither the select board nor the zoning board has the approval or right to deny a 40B project once it's been approved by the state. But if it does come to us, if it is approved and it's submitted to the town, we will do our best to work through the process to the best interest of the town.
I thought they needed a variance on the zoning.
So technically, yes, there is a variance given, but through the process of 40B, the town is very much not in a position to actually deny if we're not in if we're not over our percentage of affordable housing units, which we are not. So we will not have the we will not have the ability to deny the project if it is brought to the town, but rather we will be working with any potential project to the best outcome possible. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening. I'm Elaine Lewis. I live at 11 Cannon Hill Ave. And I have a question about the process. So if it's a 40B, my understanding is that the town has met the 10% amount for housing, then does a developer that's still doing a 40B project, can they overlook all the other requirements other than, I guess it's safety and there was another one. Like if we had met the 10%, is there a denial or can you request a lesser number if we have already met the 10%?
So it's my understanding, and I will first say that we are not 40B experts by any stretch. If it does come to that, there are money within the project that we are given to have an expert that sits with us in this process. But it's my understanding that if we are past our 10% or above that 10% threshold, and or the town has safe harbor due to units that have already been committed to construction and are staying within the guidelines and framework of that regional permit, that they are not granted by rights the ability to have those affordable units. So in essence, it becomes a normal building project that they want works within the normal framework of the town.
Because my understanding was that project, the apartments that are going in, that is it like 250?
Across from Chesterton.
Yes. So my understanding from the meeting Monday night is that if they have a signed, help me out, if they had a signed
Building permit.
building permit.
It's changing.
Yeah, that,
Keep hearing a new line every week.
Building permit was reversed.
yeah, so if they're, I mean, they're doing site work now, so I don't know when it'll ever be ready, maybe 2 or 3 years, but if there is not a building permit, that means that that number of houses that are designated to be affordable doesn't count.
Correct, so that's at this point, the Sewell Street project does not have a building permit in place, and they have not applied for a building permit. Due to a variety of reasons, the developer has been working towards that for multiple years since the inception of the project. If there was a building permit in place, then that constitutes the project being happening. However, since it has not been put in place, then there's no safe harbor for that. So at this point, any potential units cannot be counted towards our percentage of the affordable housing.
But if the site work is all being done, so it's clear that something's going in there, it still requires a building. permit.
Yeah, a building permit is required for any construction done. Absolutely.
For the construction, but not the site work.
So if I may,
Please.
Mr. Chair, the site work that is occurring on site right now is part of, an administrative consent order with the state for the filling of the quarry. So the site work that you're seeing has to do with the filling of the quarry that was at the site. So that is a separate project in terms of the work that's being done. Yes, it will set the stage and the foundation for the project to move forward, but it is an administrative consent order under the jurisdiction of the state with the filling of the quarry that was there originally. And the chair is correct, but the building permit has been, applied for, but it has not yet been issued because the developer has yet to meet the conditions of the approved decision that was approved by the zoning board of appeals. So once a permit is approved, which the permit was approved for the 192 units by the zoning board of appeals back in 2019, they have to meet certain conditions prior to filling a building permit. That individual has applied for a building permit, but still has not met those conditions of the decision in order for a building permit to be issued. Therefore, those units will not count towards our subsidized housing inventory until a building permit is issued. And then there's a set amount of months that he has in order to actually conduct construction. And then those units will fall off again unless he is issued a certificate of occupancy. And then those units will be counted yet again. So there is a process. So, but to clarify, he has applied for a permit, he has just not met those conditions. And the site work that you see now is more geared towards the filling of the court.
Okay, so is that public record, the timeline and where the builder is at in terms of that timeline?
I mean, I believe so in terms, we can show you the date the permit was issued. We can point to all the minutes of the zoning board of appeals meetings. Most of them were televised. We can point to all of that information. I believe we have most of the information, but as to where he is in personally in that, I can't speak for the private developer, but I can show you the decision and we can show you what they have met per their requirements thus far.
Okay.
And I believe, based upon our last conversation with the developer, he's pretty close to fulfilling all of those requirements.
Thank you.
And in terms of the time frame, it's 18 months from when he has issued that permit. So his project will have to be completed enough to get an occupancy so people can actually move in before those will fall off again. We no longer can count those towards So if it takes longer than 18 months, then we will lose our safe house status again.
But if he's pulled the permit, then,
So he's applied for the permit has not been issued as of yet.
right, but if it is issued, that's when you can count it.
That's when we have safe harbor for now, the next period of time within that frame.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Paris, Garrison, isn't there also some requirements in there about the town meeting certain percentages year by year? Like half a percentage over 1 year or full percentage over 2 years? Not we about that?
Well, no, it's my understanding that we're roughly 10% under our affordable number.
We're at 3.6%.
Over 1 year or half a year, or what's the criteria there?
So I believe what you're referencing is the housing production plan in which we have a goal of how we will obtain reaching our 10%. if I'm understanding correctly, that is not a state set regulation. We just need to be at our 10%. How the town chooses to go about reaching that 10% is at the discretion of the town. And is usually set forth in a blueprint and or a plan, like the housing production plan, to say, if you do not want an unwanted 40B project, you should make an active goal of achieving about 1% or 2% of whatever it was every year in order to ensure that you can show the state that you are committed to your affordable housing goals and reaching that 10%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kathy Castellanos, okay, good. So in the process of the 40B as it goes through zoning, Senator Tar spoke about how this takes a long time for something like what's being proposed at Garrison. That's what he stated when he jumped in on when we.
It can, if memory serves,
He said 6 years.
the Sewell Street project took, I think, 14 months.
Well, I'm not trying to compare to that because they haven't built for it.
Well, I mean, not the actual construction, the actual application process.
Okay, so the application process and they went through an unfriendly, because they went through the state, right?
Correct,
Correct. So it came right to the zone.
correct. The 40B process is governed by zone.
Right, but in other words, it was considered unfriendly for to be.
Friendly or unfriendly status is irrelevant as far as the actual process.
So what does it mean when they say, as people said, he went straight through the state, he didn't come to the town and.
Well, so all 40B projects need to be submitted to the state, much like the Garrett Street project is now. They're submitted to the state for approval of that 40B status.
Was that the executive office of housing that's asking the select board to comment, or is it a different department?
I'm not sure who's asking the select board to make comment.
Executive office of housing and livable communities.
Mr. Chair, so if I may,
Please.
it's
Yeah.
all the subsidized housing. So in order to move forward with the 40B process, you must apply to a subsidizing agency. And on behalf of the former project that came before the board, it was mass housing. So in either case, whether it be that example or the current example before us, they must go to the subsidizing agency and apply and do a project eligibility letter. Once that project eligibility letter is filed with the subsidizing agency, unfriendly, friendly, whether the town has asked for somebody to come in and the zoning just won't allow for it, so they want to go a friendly route, or whether or not the developer would seize an opportunity and would like to go forward regardless of what the town wants. In both cases, they go to the subsidizing agency for a project eligibility letter. In both cases, they will then ask the executive body, which is the select board, to provide comments within 30 days of receiving their letter asking for comment. And then they take that into consideration, and then they will issue a site approval. Once a site approval is issued, that will then allow the developer to apply for a comprehensive permit with the zoning board of appeals. So whether it's friendly or unfriendly, the steps are all the same. The select board or the mayor or city council are always involved in the beginning for the 30-day comment. Again, whether or not it's a friendly or unfriendly. In both cases, that body will be asked to assemble comments in response to the project eligibility letter.
Okay, so you're saying that the subsidizing agency or whatever is this executive office of housing and livable communities.
I'm saying that in the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Community is the entity in which the Garrison Village and Bethany community is soliciting or attempting to get a tax credit from in order to move forward with their project. And the way of the development over on Sewell Street, it was mass housing. So it depends on who they're looking for, what subsidized agency they're looking to get funding from.
So the state has several housing authorities.
Not housing authorities, but different entities. I can pull them up, but
Okay, no, that's. all
but
right.
they are different. Like we said, this is going through the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. The project on Sewell Street was very much mass housing.
And the big difference between friendly is unfriendly is as long as they're trying to be friendly, they're trying to work with the town. And if the town is unwilling to work with them, then they just say, I'm not gonna be friendly about it, we're just gonna do it. And they don't work with the town.
Mhm.
That's the difference between friendly and unfriendly.
Well, some would think that, yes. Others would be filing a letter and saying that we've met with people who didn't, would be in front of us.
So Mass Housing is one of the 4 state agencies that administer development under 40B. So that's one, the Executive Housing of,
Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
so EOHLC is
There's like
another.
so many words. I think what the, like the common question, I think was kind of floating, the elephant in the room. And maybe you can't even answer it. What is the likelihood that this other project could come in, which it seems to be moving along, now we're gonna have to file by the end of August to respond. And receive the same kind of approvals that Sewell Street has received, right? Receive those same approvals. And because the Sewell Street hasn't yet, I don't know whether we're looking for the permits or what, we haven't got safe harbor.
Correct.
We will have not much leeway as far as the impact on the town. We'd have to show a significant endangerment, I would suspect. I mean, I think there are some things, but my question is there anything to say?
I don't know that there's a way to say, and I don't know that any of the town board should be commenting on that, to be honest. What I will say is that, to my individual knowledge, I do not know of too many applications not being approved when there is a significant need for affordable housing in the community.
Okay, so yes, we talked about the need, but I'm talking just about the process where you have a senator come in and say it takes years for these things to get through. I'm asking from the zoning board.
I think a lot of it.
How long does it take from the time an application like the Sewell Street comes to you to do what you have to do, right? And then you approve, so.
A lot of it depends on the information that they provide us. If they provide us good, clear information, it's gonna take the process a lot less time to go through. And we can't hold that process up, because if we
I'm
do,
not asking you.
Oh, no, I
asking how long
understand.
it takes.
and it's gonna vary depending on the information that's provided. And then if they feel that we're trying to hold that process up, then that could lead to the town getting in a lot of trouble. So it's all gonna be based on the information they give us. And Bethany Holmes, the developer that specializes in this, I would imagine they're gonna provide good, clear, accurate information. But who knows?
But I will also, if I may clarify again. As soon as any 40B development filed with the zoning board of appeals, there is no safe harbor to claim, even if a building permit is pulled, because it stops the clock, because of exactly what you're discussing right now, because it would be illegal for you to stall and or to delay the process of review just to wait for a building permit.
Right.
So once it's filed with the zoning board of appeals, from my understanding of the regulation, that starts the clock and they have every right to move forward with the development. But if he pulls a building permit, if a building permit, again, my understanding, and you will verify with counsel for the record, is that if a building permit was pulled tomorrow, then you could potentially claim safe harbor once an application was filed with the zoning board of appeals. And they could make that claim once that application was submitted to the zoning board of appeals. But if a building permit is not filed or granted and an application is filed, then you won't be able to claim safe harbor.
But to Jason's point, that application has to be accurate, and to this point, Bethany's has not been accurate. There have been many inconsistencies and misinformation and outright
Well, to be fair,
lies in that application through the state.
excuse me, sir, just to be clear, there's been no application filed with the town of Groveland.
Right, but to the state, which we all have access to, even the town council and administrator have access to that application to the state. And there was obviously misinformation and outright lies because they had not contacted abutters. So we're in a bit of a discrepancy here between applicant, information and the truth. So that's my point.
Well, I think,
And Jason said that he wants, accuracy and, obviously honesty, and it wasn't in that application. So that was my point.
like, again, at this point, if
I know,
whatever
I
the
know,
application
it's
is
not
between the applicant and the state at this point,
Yes,
so
Yes.
but what,
Jason brought that point up. I would like to report for that, so. Thank you, thank you.
yes, sir.
Even under 40B, aren't they required to follow the town zoning regulations? That this 40B could somehow absolve them of zoning regulations if they decide they want to put in a 10-story tower there?
So the 40B does give some leeway to work outside of the established regulations, set by the town's ordinance. So that's why they work it through the board, so that we can try to find the best compromise possible.
It's a pretty daunting process, the 40B, and it does allow to circumvent most zoning laws without question. That's one reason why the project that on Sewell Street is in an industrial zone, not even residential. They just look to see that if it's suitable to be a residential area, and that's what the state determines. I know I've followed a lot of different 40Bs around, and even some that are in other countries at this point. But the big thing was in Ipswich, Brunel, the Brunelli project that they had, where they have an issue where they don't have enough water for their residents. They drain that river dry. And the attorney said, you know what, that's Ipswich problem. That's not our problem. You better get the water. And there was nothing they could do about it. So it's one of the reasons why everybody travels so cautiously around 40Bs. We try to work with people, we try to work with everybody, and try to find a happy compromise. Because if we don't, and they go to the appeals and they go through the process, then you're stuck with no say at all on what happens. And when you talk about conforming to the character of the town, it's not necessarily the 63,000 or 67,000 square foot building that they're putting in. It's how it looks from the outside. And that's what the state looks at in terms of conforming with the neighborhood. So those are areas that are very hard for me to comprehend, but what I've seen when I look at other 40B projects that have happened around in surrounding communities.
Very good.
Words.
Jane Brown from Garrison Street. So I did a little research and I'm just wondering, there are some towns in Massachusetts that reject 40B. So we have Brookline, Falmouth, Marblehead, Marion, Needham, Newbury, Newton, North Andover, Norwell, Peabody, Sudbury, Waltham. How do they reject 40B projects? If I can't grow them, get on board and reject them.
I'm not familiar with the situation of all those towns and cities. I would likely believe that they were above their threshold for affordable housing. I know, having been a former resident of Peabody, I can tell you that affordable housing is not an issue in Peabody.
I have another question. So today, they had surveyed people all over the fields. And they already stated that the sewer is too small. And they would have to dig up Garrison Street. I don't know if it goes off to Gardner or King. So when something like that arises, how does the town handle that? I mean, does Bethany Homes pay for that extra road work that would have to be done?
Again, that goes to working with the developer, like Daily, we put in sewer. If we're willing to work with them, we can make those type of arrangements. I wasn't aware that the sewer was too small from the comments that I heard from our water superintendent. Because I know that he said that there was new sewer and new water along that.
Or maybe not to accommodate 90 people, and if you have 2 people in some of those units, it's gonna be, over 150 flushes and showers and washes. I'm just concerned, like, why are they doing more surveying? Like, it seems like, why would they be spending the money to, they were there all day today. Why would they be spending the money if it, do they feel like it's already gonna be approved? I mean,
I don't know that they have some idea or guidance either way, but if I'm a business owner, I would want to take the steps out that I would felt I need to take to be prepared for whatever project was coming down the pipe. So it's within their right as the potential owner of that land or what have you to do that kind of surveying. And again, it doesn't mean they can proceed with the project, but doing surveying, not proceeding with the project.
that's another question. So Bethany Homes, like, seeing the backlash of how upset people are, like, why would they even wanna like build it? Something like that, and, they say they have a good relationship with Groveland, well, right now, they don't, and I don't understand why they would just wanna walk this down there. I mean, you've given them the option of going other places. And are they considering other places, or like, once this gets accepted, is that it?
Honestly, I do not want to speak for Betty Homes, and I don't know what their mentality is as far as looking at alternate plots and entries.
I mean, ultimately, it's Nichols Trust that's directing Bethany Homes on what to do. I mean,
Right, but Nichols have already fulfilled their legacy, they built that beautiful Nichols Village.
apparently they want to do more, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for them, but they do own the land there, and that's what they're choosing to do with it at this time, so.
Yes, sir.
Art Perry, 28 Garrison, do this board consider stormwater runoff, or who does that? Because, that's gonna be a huge concern for both, Fairview Circle and all of us downstream of the runoff.
Yeah, I can tell you that stormwater runoff would be part of any application for this project,
This board?
potentially as well as for every project that comes with it.
Do you know what the, stormwater mapping is for that here? That,
Offhand, that particular plot of land, no, I'm not, but that would be something that would be provided, to the board as part of the application
who knows
process.
that?
Um,
The stormwater
that-
runoff,
you know,
drainage.
what else we have on that,
This-
stormwater.
I don't know that the stormwater would be in
Right.
place for the plot of land.
well, it certainly
think
would be. Stormwater runoff would not be part of this project?
it would be part of this project,
Right.
but there's no application, there's no project here right now to
Right.
look at.
So what
So
I
happened?
know, but who within the town
So
would
it's-
know this mapping of the stormwater runoff?
So the town does not keep records of every plot of land and what the potential runoff is.
I'm not
Well,
asking for
well,
each plot of land, I'm asking for the
I know.
entire runoff,
And if you allow me,
stormwater drains. Who,
so as part of the application process, the applicant would have an engineer on site to do, renderings and studies on what they're.
that's not my question, who in town controls the storm drains right now?
The
And
water,
who's a map of that?
the water and sewer department manages the storm,
No, they said they do not.
Highway department.
the highway department.
Okay, thank you.
So one other thing is that something that I think is really important, just in terms of the conversation, is that a comprehensive permit under 40B designates the zoning board of appeals as the body that will streamline the review of a proposal. So they are acting as all of the boards and all of the committees in the review of this application, which makes it a comprehensive permit. So like we did with the other development, they will call in the expertise of the Conservation Commission in regards to the wetlands protection. They will call in the expertise of the other boards, the Board of Health and other boards and committees that would weigh in on what would be required in a regular application and consolidate that into one decision and document. So there will be a comprehensive review, but all under one body, whereas technically when you apply for a permit, you go before the zoning board or the planning board or the conservation commission. So it just consolidates the review process. And as part of that, we also have a technical review engineer. So a third-party engineering firm would then review the plans that are submitted to the zoning board of appeals. And through that process with the applicant's engineer would go back and forth, including stormwater calculation. So if they're saying they would create X amount of impervious surface this would impact the current conditions of the land because the water and the soils won't allow for the proper drainage and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there would be a technical level of review outside of this board, but on the oversight of this board and in conjunction with the other relevant departments and boards to weigh in as required. So it's just the confusing part for this whole process is that it's just the zoning board of appeals becomes that one body that's looking at this application, whereas in the standard sense, there's multiple people, multiple boards that would be involved.
Is all that public records?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and
Any other comments? Okay,
What about the safety aspect of it? I mean, it seems like it's just not in a good space with two blind spots on the other, either end of the road.
so as part of the application process, they would also go through a traffic study as well.
Okay, so the traffic study, is that, do they conduct the traffic study or is it county roadway conduct the traffic study?
As Rebecca mentioned, so the applicant would do the initial, study, and then we would have our, peer review, company do that peer review and validate.
then it will be independently reviewed, so.
Correct.
Thank
Right, I think we can move on to the next. Bill, thank you everyone for your comment, we appreciate it. Rebecca, I think just, as a point, I think there was one board that's not on this agenda here, this would be, the update on enforcement action.
It is, it's under correspondence.
Oh, sorry, thank you. It'll be off my. All right, so we're going order here. Everything's good. So approvals minutes for July 10th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning board of appeal minutes for Wednesday, July 10th, 2024.
Second,
Second.
all right. All those in favor, roll call. Chris Goodwin, aye.
Jason, I.
Aye.
And it's approved. Next item of business, this correspondence regarding enforcement on 141 Washington Street. So Rebecca, we had a little action with Sam.
Yes, we received multiple complaints in regards to the parking and storage of vehicles at the site at 141 Washington Street. We requested that the building commissioner take a look at the site and verify whether or not the use of the property was within the confines of the zoning bylaw. And it was found that it was not, and therefore, per section 50-4.5, the table of uses, that the individual was not able to store and park equipment in vehicles and was in violation of the zoning bylaw and actually.
Thank you. Has there been any feedback from the resident?
We have not heard from anyone at this point in time, but the building commissioner did go out to the site to verify and things seem to be in order now that he issued the enforcement.
Keep us posted. Thank you. All right, are there any other items not reasonably anticipated?
Nothing, and we just set the schedule for September.
Full discussion, John, anything?
Yep. I'm fine.
Jason?
Good.
All right.
Okay.
So, I'll take a motion to adjourn at 8:07 PM.
So motion. Jason, I.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank
Feel
you.
better, John. You're not sounding too good.
Um,